picture this. It's a busy Monday morning, June 6, 2011. You're in this bustling commercial district in Vienna, Austria.
Right, just a normal start to the week.
Exactly. But a water pipe bursts in a mixed-use building. So the property managers call in a crew of plumbers to, track down the leak.
As you do.
Yeah. The workers head down into the basement. They're winding through these small storage units assigned to the apartments and the ground floor shops. And they get to cellar door number 6. But they find this heavy padlock. Nobody knows who holds the key. The owner of the ice cream parlor upstairs, who rents that specific unit, is nowhere to be found.
Which is a problem because they need to access the pipes right behind that door.
Right, so they get permission to just snap the lock with bolt cutters.
And the moment they step inside that cramped storage space, they are just hit with a wall of odor.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it is this deeply sour, overwhelming stench of rot. But it's bizarrely masked by the smell of, dozens and dozens of cheap pine air fresheners scattered all over the room.
That is so unsettling.
Very. And the space is mostly blocked by a massive deep freezer and several of these heavy plastic ice cream tubs. The plumbers need to reach the wall, so they start trying to move the tubs.
They're heavy, right.
Incredibly heavy. They feel like solid rock. And that is because they are filled to the brim with hardened concrete.
Wow.
So as one of the workers struggles to shift a tub, it slips from his grip, it crashes onto the hard floor, the concrete block inside shatters, and rolling out of the gray rubble is a severed human foot.
It is the ultimate nightmare scenario. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're opening up a stack of international news articles, true crime transcripts, and encyclopedia entries to look at one of Austria's most notorious criminal cases.
We are unraveling the story of Estibaliz Carranza.
Yeah, the woman the media dubbed the Ice Lady. Our mission here is to figure out who she was, explore the dark reality of her relationships, and really understand the shocking chain of events that took place right beneath the floorboards of her sweet, sunny ice cream shop.
It's a wild story.
It really is. So, to understand the sheer shock of finding that severed foot, we have to look at the woman scooping the waffle cones upstairs. What kind of environment builds that kind of psychological disconnect?
The contrast is everything here.
Yeah.
And it really starts with her childhood.
Right.
Estibaliz Carranza, who went by Esti, she was born in Mexico City in 1978. Her family relocated to Barcelona, Spain when she was just 5.
Okay.
And if you looked at her family from the outside, they seemed perfectly normal, intellectual even. Her mother was Spanish and her father was a journalist. He actually wrote books on esoteric subjects like shamanism and indigenous civilizations.
Sounds pretty cultured.
Outwardly, yes. But inside the walls of their home, her father was an absolute tyrant. He was highly controlling. He demanded absolute perfection and strict obedience.
That sounds intense.
It was. Esti later described her childhood with this really telling phrase. She said, "We were not allowed to stand out, not allowed to exist."
Wow, not allowed to exist.
Yeah. She was conditioned from a very young age to believe that her only value was in being completely submissive and totally invisible to the men in her life.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because a child growing up under that kind of crushing, tyrannical weight, they don't just process it normally.
No, not at all.
You're like a pressure cooker with no release valve. On the outside, you learn to perform, right? You act silent, obedient, and sweet just to survive.
Exactly.
But on the inside, all that suppressed emotion is just boiling. It's looking for a way out. And I'm guessing moving to Germany later was her way of trying to escape that pressure.
Well, yes, but even before she left for Germany, she had to find a way to cope. Because she was stripped of any ability to express anger outwardly, she developed a very dark, hidden coping mechanism.
Which was?
She began to have intense homicidal fantasies. As a young girl, she would silently imagine killing her father, just as a mental escape from his control.
That is a massive red flag.
Huge. And the problem is, those fantasies didn't stop when she grew up. She went to a university in Barcelona to study economics, which, by the way, was a degree her father forced on her.
Of course.
Right. And she dated a young man for 5 years. When they graduated, she fully expected him to marry her. Her singular, overriding goal in life, the only thing she truly wanted, was to have a perfect family and children of her own.
That was her ultimate dream.
Yes. But instead of marrying her, the boyfriend broke up with her.
Oh, man. And I'm guessing that rejection triggered those dark internal coping mechanisms again.
It absolutely did. The rejection was devastating to her fragile sense of self. Those violent fantasies returned, but this time they were much more focused.
How so?
She spent hours quietly plotting how she might sneak out and cut the brake lines on his car. so he would die in a fatal crash.
Wait, really? She jumped straight to murder.
She didn't act on it. But the fact that her mind went straight to calculated, lethal elimination rather than, normal grief,
Yeah.
it shows you how deep the psychological fractures were.
Yeah, that's not a normal reaction to a breakup, but she doesn't go through with it. She realizes she needs a total change of scenery, right? So she leaves Spain entirely and moves to Germany.
Yes. In the year 2000, she moves to Germany to work as an au pair, taking care of children. She learns fluent German very quickly and eventually gets a job working at an ice cream shop in Nuremberg.
Okay, setting the stage.
Exactly. And this is where her desperate quest to build that perfect, idealized family leads her straight into her first disastrous relationship. She meets a man named Holger Holtz.
He was a refrigerator salesman, wasn't he?
He was, and he was 14 years older than her. Initially, he is incredibly charming and attentive. Within just a few weeks of meeting her, he proposes marriage.
Just a few weeks. That's so fast.
Super fast. But Esty is so driven by this overwhelming desire to become a mother and secure a family unit that she ignores every single red flag. And she says yes. They get married in 2002.
But the fairy tale doesn't last. In fact, it sounds like the moment she is locked into the marriage, his true personality comes out.
It was an overnight transformation. The loving partner just vanished, and Holger became highly abusive.
In what way?
He started taking all the money she was earning from her waitressing jobs. He confiscated her passport so she couldn't travel or easily leave him. He constantly belittled her, calling her ugly and stupid.
That is classic abuser behavior.
Yeah.
Isolating and degrading her.
Exactly. But the most agonizing part for Esty was that Holger joined the Hare Krishna religious movement.
Okay.
And he began using the tenets of that faith as a justification to refuse any physical intimacy with her. He was actively denying her the one thing she wanted more than anything else in the world, which was a child.
So she is right back under the thumb of a controlling man, exactly like her father. But eventually they leave Germany.
Right. In 2005, Holger promises her that if they move to Vienna, Austria, and open an ice cream parlor together, things will improve and they can finally start a family.
A fresh start.
That was the idea. So they pack up and move. They open a shop called Schleckeria. But the dynamic doesn't change at all. Esty is downstairs practically running the business single-handedly, while Holger sits upstairs in their shared apartment.
Just letting her do all the work.
Completely. He ignores the shop entirely. He plays violent computer games all day and spends his time cleaning his collection of firearms.
Oh, that's a bad combination.
Very bad. Eventually, Esty manages to do something incredibly difficult for someone with her psychological background. She files for divorce.
Good for her.
Yes. But the legal paperwork doesn't solve the physical reality. Holger simply refuses to move out of the apartment.
So it sounds like she was legally separated from him, but psychologically and practically she was still absolutely paralyzed.
Exactly. He weaponized the business against her. He used the fact that she technically owed him money from the ice cream parlor's initial investment to blackmail her into letting him stay.
That's awful.
So she is officially divorced, yet completely trapped in her own home. Because of how she was raised, she lacked the psychological tools to simply pack a bag, walk out the door, and start a new life.
Right. She couldn't just leave.
No, she felt compelled to endure it. The pressure cooker was building all over again, those violent fantasies returned, and this time they were locked entirely onto Holger.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because that feeling of being totally cornered is what finally causes the pressure cooker to explode. And the way it happens is shockingly sudden.
It really is. It all comes to a head on April 27, 2008. Esty finishes a long, exhausting shift downstairs at the ice cream parlor and walks upstairs to the apartment.
Okay.
Holger is sitting in a chair, his back to the room playing a computer game. As soon as she walks in, he starts throwing insults at her over his shoulder.
Just unprovoked.
Completely. He is mocking her, telling her she is worthless and that she will never find a man to have a family with. He doesn't even bother to turn around and look at her. And carelessly, he has left 4 loaded handguns sitting on the table right behind him.
Oh, no.
Esty finally snaps. She walks over to the table, picks up a .22 caliber Beretta pistol, stands directly behind his chair, and shoots him 3 times in the back of the head and once in the temple. He dies instantly.
Wow. But her reaction to this isn't some mastermind cover-up, is it? It's actually incredibly messy and chaotic.
It is entirely impulsive. She is paralyzed by what she has done, so she just leaves his body sitting in the chair for several days.
Several days.
Yeah. But eventually, she realizes she has to hide the evidence. She comes up with this bizarre plan to burn the remains. She douses Holger's body in schnapps and tries to set him on fire right there in the apartment.
In an apartment building.
Yes. And as you can imagine, setting a human body on fire indoors creates a massive, terrible-smelling cloud of smoke. The smoke alarm starts screaming, and the neighbors call the fire department.
Of course they do.
So when the firefighters arrive and knock on the door, Esty opens it with her usual sweet, polite smile. She looks them in the eye and says, "I'm so sorry, I just burnt a fish in the oven."
Wait, she said she burnt a fish?
Yes. And incredibly, because of her sweet demeanor, they believe her and leave.
The sheer absurdity of that moment is staggering. You have a woman calmly smiling at firefighters while there is literally a smoldering corpse just rooms away.
That innocent facade was the survival mechanism she had perfected since childhood. But once the fire department leaves, she realizes the fire idea is a failure. She needs a new plan.
Right.
So she drives to a local hardware store and buys a chainsaw. She actually asks the clerk to give her a quick tutorial on how to operate it.
You've gotta be kidding me.
No, she really did. She takes it back to the apartment, dismembers Holger's body, and packs the parts into heavy-duty plastic bags.
And this is where the ice cream tugs come in?
Well, a few months later, yes. When she loses the lease on that specific apartment, she realizes she needs a permanent hiding spot. She buys empty commercial plastic ice cream tubs and heavy bags of dry cement. She puts his body parts into the tubs, mixes the wet cement in the apartment, and pours it over the remains.
Yeah.
For his head, which had frozen to the bottom of her deep freezer, she literally just pours wet cement directly into the appliance.
That is so gruesome.
Yeah.
And the physical toll of that is hard to wrap your head around. Mixing concrete is exhausting, heavy labor. And she has to lug these massive rock-solid tubs down into the cellar beneath her shop, all while running a business.
That's unbelievable.
And the smell of decomposition combined with curing concrete, I mean, that is why she had to scatter all those pine air fresheners in the basement.
Exactly. The logistics of this cover-up were grueling.
Hmm.
But she manages it. She stacks the tubs in cellar number 6, and whenever anyone in the neighborhood asks where Holger went, she just smiles sweetly and says he ran off to join a religious sect in India.
Which works perfectly because he was already in the Hare Krishna movement.
Right, it was the perfect alibi. Because Holger was known to be erratic, nobody questioned it.
You would think that after physically dismembering her ex-husband and burying him under her workplace, she would just lay low. But her obsession with having a perfect family hasn't faded at all. She immediately seeks out another relationship, and history just repeats itself.
It does, but in a slightly different way. Soon after Holger's death, she begins dating a man named Manfred Hinterberger.
Okay, who is Manfred?
He is also a refrigerator salesman, and he is 20 years older than her.
Another older salesman.
Yep, but Manfred isn't a recluse like Holger. He is a known active womanizer. He is constantly cheating on her, setting up profiles on online dating sites.
Ah, so a different kind of terrible.
Exactly. On top of the infidelity, he is highly critical of her physical appearance. To keep him happy and secure the relationship, Esty undergoes multiple painful cosmetic procedures.
Like what?
She gets a facelift, a nose job, and lip injections. She literally alters her face to please him. But Manfred has grown children from a previous relationship, and he outright refuses to have a baby with her.
So she's hitting the exact same wall.
Yes. Esty later described this relationship by saying, "It was like having a plastic bag over my head."
So she is trapped again. The man who is supposed to give her the perfect family is denying it to her, but this time she doesn't wait for a spontaneous moment of rage, right?
No.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is the psychological evolution of the crime. The first murder was an impulsive explosion. It was messy and disorganized. The second murder is coldly clinical and entirely premeditated.
How so?
In November 2010, after discovering that Manfred has been sexting other women, she decides he has to die. But she wants to execute it perfectly this time. She actually signs up for professional shooting lessons at a local gun range to improve her aim.
Wow, that is chilling.
She goes out and buys heavy plastic wrap, and she meticulously lines the entire bedroom, the floor, the walls, the bed, like a surgical theater, specifically to catch the blood and make cleanup easier.
Wait, she lined the room with plastic beforehand? That completely shatters any idea that this was a sudden crime of passion.
It was pure execution. In the middle of the night on November 21st, after Manfred falls asleep and starts snoring heavily, she takes the exact same .22 caliber Beretta pistol she used on Holger.
The exact same gun.
Yes. She sneaks up behind Manfred and shoots him 4 times in the back of the head. She brings out the chainsaw, dismembers his body on the plastic wrap, and just like before, she mixes the concrete, cements his remains into ice cream buckets, and hauls them down into cellar number 6 to stack them right next to Holger.
That is just terrifying.
And after spending hours doing this gruesome, exhausting physical labor, she cleans herself up and goes out to get a manicure.
Wait, a manicure? You don't dismember a human body, haul concrete down a flight of stairs, and then go get your cuticles pushed back unless you are completely, fundamentally detached from your own actions.
It shows a terrifying level of compartmentalization. 4 days after the murder, she calmly walks into a local police station and reports Manfred missing.
Unbelievable.
She tells the officers she thinks he ran off to Thailand after an argument.
Yeah.
And once again, everyone believes the soft-spoken, sweet ice cream shop owner.
Which brings us to the final and maybe most profoundly ironic chapter of her freedom. Because after Manfred is gone, she actually finds a man who treats her well.
She does. She meets a man named Roland. He is young, kind, gentle, and emotionally supportive. They fall deeply in love.
And then she gets the news she's been waiting for.
Yes. In June 2011, her lifelong desperate dream finally comes true. Estibaliz Carranza discovers she is pregnant.
Wow.
She's overjoyed. She feels like after all the abuse and the horror, she has finally secured the perfect life and the family she always wanted.
So what does this all mean? I mean, the timing here is almost cinematic in its irony. The exact moment she finally gets the baby she's been obsessing over her entire life, the universe steps in and a pipe bursts.
Yes. Just days after she finds out she is pregnant, that water pipe breaks in the building. The maintenance workers go down, cut the padlock, drop the heavy tub, and the concrete shatters to reveal the foot.
And where is she when this happens?
Esty is actually arriving at work that morning. She walks up, sees the police cars swarming her ice cream shop, and instantly knows it is over.
She doesn't even try to play dumb.
Nope. She turns right around, goes straight to the bank, empties her accounts, grabs her passport, and hires a taxi.
A taxi? To go where?
She pays the driver top dollar to take her 300 miles south, straight through the winding roads of the Alps and into Italy.
That is a long cab ride.
She makes it to the town of Udine and convinces a local street musician to let her crash at his lodgings. But she can't outrun the news. The story of the Ice Lady is plastered everywhere.
So he recognizes her.
Exactly. The street musician realizes exactly who is sleeping in his house, calls the authorities, and a few days later the police raid the house and arrest her.
So she is caught. But the story doesn't end with her in handcuffs. The aftermath and the trial give us the most complex look at her psychology. What did the experts say about her state of mind?
During her trial in 2012, the court appointed a highly respected forensic psychiatrist named Dr. Adelheid Kastner to evaluate Esty.
And what did she find?
Dr. Kastner diagnosed her with severe complex personality disorders. She explained to the court that Esty possessed what she called a dangerous princess complex.
A princess complex.
Yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, you can think of it almost like a parasitic survival strategy. She desperately wanted a powerful man to unconditionally accept her, protect her, and give her the fairy tale family.
Right.
She would completely subjugate herself to these men to get what she wanted. But the moment these men inevitably failed to provide that perfect fairy tale, the psychological contract was broken.
So they became the enemy.
Exactly. Her brain classified them as a threat, her dark side would take over, and she would completely destroy them.
Yeah.
Dr. Kastner testified that Esty was legally sane. She knew exactly what she was doing when she bought the plastic wrap and the cement, but that she was exceptionally dangerous and highly likely to kill again if she ever felt trapped in a relationship.
Now, just to be impartial here and look at all our sources, we should mention her book, because Esty actually published a memoir from prison in 2014 called My Two Lives.
Right, she did.
And in the book, she writes about her life entirely through the lens of being a victim. She claims that she was continuously abused and manipulated, writing that these monstrous men turned her into a beast. We aren't taking sides, but that is her stated perspective.
Yes, that is her claim. But when the court looked at the physical evidence, the premeditation, the plastic wrap, the shooting lessons, the fact that she went for a manicure, they saw a highly manipulative, cold-blooded killer who showed absolutely zero genuine remorse. So she was convicted and sentenced to life in a secure psychiatric facility.
And her life inside the justice system took some incredibly strange turns, too.
Very strange. While she was awaiting trial, she actually married Roland inside the prison. In January 2012, she gave birth to the baby boy she had always wanted.
But she couldn't keep him, right?
No. Because of her life sentence and her severe psychiatric profile, The baby was immediately taken from her and sent to live with her parents in Spain.
That has to be devastating for her, getting the one thing she wanted and instantly losing it.
It was the ultimate consequence. And in a final, very telling twist to this story, the Austrian prison system made an unprecedented decision in 2017.
What did they do?
They determined that Estebaliz Carranza was simply too dangerous and too manipulative to be housed with other female inmates. They felt she was a unique threat. So they transferred her to an all-male, high-security prison facility.
An all-male prison. That is incredible.
Yes. And shortly after that transfer, Roland, who had stood by her through the trial, officially divorced her.
So she is back to square one.
Exactly. And true to her psychological pattern, she quickly began dating another male inmate inside this facility. She just started the cycle all over again.
Man, this entire deep dive is a dark, fascinating study of human psychology. It is such a stark reminder of how a perfectly ordinary, even sweet exterior can completely mask years of buried, explosive psychological fractures. You really never know what is going on beneath the floorboards, literally and figuratively.
This raises an important question about how well we really know the people around us. But I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Let's hear it.
Imagine you are that taxi driver. You pick up a nervous, quiet woman in Vienna who offers you a huge sum of cash to drive her 300 miles across the Alps into Italy.
Okay.
As you are winding through those isolated mountain roads, the news comes on the radio. The broadcaster announces breaking updates about a sweet-faced Vienna ice cream shop owner who just fled the city after police found human remains encased in solid concrete in her basement.
Oh, wow.
At what exact point do you slowly look up into your rearview mirror, make eye contact with the quiet woman sitting in your back seat, and realize exactly who you are driving?
That thought is going to keep me up tonight. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.